Welcome to the Big Story. Good evening. I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Gretchen Ho.
And I'm Shawn Yao.
Tonight's Big Stories. Senator Risa Ontiveros tweaks the controversial sexuality education bill, which she authored, taking out some of the more contentious wording.
The Quad Committee wants to revisit unresolved cases of killings that happened during the Duterte drug war. Congressman Ace Barbers joins us tonight to tell us more about this plan.
And could there be a state-sanctioned group spying on Philippine military installations and other vital sites? We ask AFP spokesperson Colonel Francel Pilia, who joins us in a bit.
Senator Risa Ontiveros has submitted an amended version of the controversial anti-adolescent pregnancy bill, where she took into account some of the comments, including those from her own colleagues.
Among the changes she made is the inclusion of a clarification that it won't curtail parental authority or religious freedom, as well as the age of students to whom comprehensive sexual education should apply.
And this was done after 7 senators expressed their intent to withdraw support from that bill. Amy Atienza has tonight's big story.
Mr. President, that I remain ready and willing to listen to the concerns and suggestions of all my fellow senators.
Senator Risa Ontiveros had this to say as she files a substitute bill amending provisions of Senate Bill 1979, otherwise known as the Anti-Adolescent Pregnancies Bill. Here, the phrase "guided by international standards" was removed. This was a contentious phrase because some people misinterpreted it to mean the Philippines may follow more liberal norms. The freshened up version also indicates that comprehensive sexuality education is limited to those from ages 10 years and above, with the bill likewise including a provision guaranteeing academic and religious freedom. Ontiveros reworked the bill after 7 of her colleagues wrote to Senate President Chis Escudero to withdraw their signatures from the original measure. These are Senators J.B. Ejercito, Nancy Binay, Cynthia Villar, Bongo, Jingoy Estrada, Bong Revilla, and Loren Legarda. The lawmakers all said that a solution is still wanting on the ballooning number of teenage pregnancies in the country. But according to them, dialogue with stakeholders is much needed to address misconceptions about the bill.
Nakinig din tayo dun sa clamor ng mga kababayan na even the President raised certain issues against the bill. And hindi pa nga napupunta sa Presidente, may pronouncement na siya na ililito. So why would we produce a committee report na alam naman natin na ililito na ng Presidente kahit hindi pa umaabot sa Malacanang.
For Villar, her move to withdraw support for Ontiveros' bill is simply a gesture of respect for concerns raised about it. She clarified that she does not reject the measure's objectives. Rubio shared this sentiment.
Siyempre may apo ako, may anak ako, we have to protect them. So umasa kayo na kasama nyo kami sa laban na yan.
Go, for his part, says he doesn't agree with any bill that could destroy the value of families and go against religious sensibilities. For Estrada, a contentious point of the bill is that very phrase, international standards.
Hindi ko alam yung kung ano yung international standards. So, upon review, medyo hindi ukma sa kultura natin.
Still, former Senator, now Education Secretary Sonny Angara can still see the anti-teen pregnancies bill intent and believes it should be supported.
Yung intention ng bill is to limit teenage pregnancies, to reduce the number of teenage pregnancies. Kasi maraming bata na nabubuntis na hindi nila alam bakit sila nabuntis. Bukod doon, hindi nila alam yung responsibilidad ng pagiging buntis.
Mobile journalist Amy Atienza, we are One News.
And over at the lower house, congressmen are seeking the reinvestigation of extrajudicial killings during the Duterte administration's war on drugs. In Tuesday's Quad Committee hearing, Co-Chairman Dan Fernandez said that he believes there is a need to reopen more than 7,000 cases for the sake of victims' families. Abang Lingkod Party List Representative Stephen Paduano agreed, but says the reinvestigation of all these cases could transcend this administration. Hence, he recommends a separate body composed of the PNP and the NBI to thoroughly review unresolved cases.
Let's discuss this further with House Quad Committee Chair and Surigao del Norte Representative Ace Barbers, who joins us tonight on The Big Story. Magandang gabi.
Hi, good evening, ladies, and thank you for having me.
Hey, Congressman, you plan to reopen the investigation on EJ case, the crimes committed, and the cases. How do you plan to go about this? How many cases exactly have been filed with the PNP? And we do know that it is a very sensitive topic, especially with the security of the victims. And we're dealing with law enforcement here. How do you expect this to go?
Well, first of all, why do we want a reopening of such cases? Is because from the time that the crime was committed until now, there are no investigations on record. Most of the deaths that happened didn't have the reports, no, or spot reports as they call it in the PNP. So Congressman Dan Fernandez intimated to the members and to the co-chairs that he believes strongly that there must be some attempt or maybe an effort from the Department of Justice to reopen these cases. And of course, this will be largely dependent on the witnesses that will come out, no, if the investigation will be reopened.
Has any victim or family expressed interest in testifying before the committee? We do know that the DOJ created a task force composed of NBI agents and prosecutors for this. Meron po ba na lumapit na sa inyo na maglalakas loob?
Meron, no? Just like last night, no? There was a mother of a minor who was killed in Payatas, who actually gave or shared the information with the committee that there are about 100 persons killed, no, during the thick of the drug war. And in this incidents, I believe there are less than 50% of those incidents have no police report or spot report, as they called it, as they call it. So that's why there was an interest from the members to look into this and probably help, no, in making sure that justice will be served by perhaps encouraging witnesses and even family members. There are victims of the families of the victims that do not want to file a complaint, you know? And because of this, the investigation was stalled. That's why we told them that maybe if we can get more evidence or evidences and maybe witnesses that can help in the solution of these crimes that were committed 6, 7 years ago or 8 years ago, then maybe this could be one of the objectives of this investigation that we are conducting in the Quad Committee. Of course, more than the primary objective of proposing new legislation.
Yes, and one of those is the Anti-EJK or Anti-Extrajudicial Killing Act, or House Bill 10986. This came from you, no, Congressman Barbers. And this one specifically is to make a law specifically targeting state agents or law enforcers who are found, and it targets to make EJK as a heinous crime. Have you asked around your colleagues, just at least within the committee or even wider than that, the plenary? And is it getting a lot of support as early as now?
Well, yeah, well, so far there are, if I'm not mistaken, more than 20 members of Congress, 19th Congress, that signified their intention to become co-authors of the said bill. No? And let me just emphasize that this proposal was born out of the 40 or 13 hearings that we had last year in 2024. and this is one of the products, so to speak, or one of the results of the 13 hearings that we had last year. So yes, the discussions about this bill just started. In fact, this morning we had a a committee hearing on the Committee on Justice, and we asked several personalities, resource persons, to give their opinion as well on this proposed legislation. And it seems that most of them, or if not all of them, have agreed, no, with the proposal, except that there are some modifications or maybe perhaps amendments that they would introduce when the period of amendments is about right. No? So I guess what will happen here is that because of the support of all these resource persons and different government agencies that attended the committee hearing earlier this morning, it will appear to be some sort of uh, a shoe-in, so to speak, no, because we did not get any objections, we did not get any opposition, at least in the committee level. But of course, there's still a lot of procedures that we have to overcome before this proposed legislation eventually becomes a law. There will be second reading, there will be third reading, there will be also debates in the plenary.
But in short, you're confident this will be passed as law, EJK, as a
Well,
heinous crime separate from
as
murder.
I believe so, because this morning there was an overwhelming support from the different government agencies that we invited and invited as resource persons, and they gave a positive opinion on this proposed legislation.
Right. One of those is the OSG, the Office of the Solicitor General. They actually agreed with at least the principle of this bill. Have you guys spoken at length, or obviously
Yes.
this is very fresh? Yes. Can you tell us, shed some light on how that conversation went?
Well, OSG was represented this morning. They were also invited as one of the resource persons for this morning's committee hearing. And they do agree that a special law like this must be passed. But they also wouldn't mind if instead of passing a special law, just amend the provisions of the definition of the crime of murder in the revised penal code. So again, there seems to be a positive support, no, for this particular proposal. Whether this becomes an amendment to the revised penal code or if this will be passed as a special law, they're both positive for us.
The theory is sound, Congressman, but at one of the hearings that you mentioned, for instance, you yourself pointed out that the legal system has failed because it has merely convicted fall guys, the small fish. So far, we have not penalized or caught or sanctioned all the big players in the, for instance, in the drug industry. And you had also said that the Quad Committee will seek to correct that injustice. How do you propose to go about this?
Well, if the statement appeared to be a strong statement saying that we will rectify it, of course, it is not within the mandate of the Quad Committee to do that. It is in the jurisdiction of the judiciary, you know, to rectify that. What we're attempting to do is that maybe aside from bringing in more witnesses and perhaps even gathering more evidences on these crimes that were committed 6 or 8 years ago, maybe help in a way that based on the conduct of the hearing, establish a reasonable doubt in order for the courts to probably change their decision on those personalities that we mentioned during the opening statement that I made. No? For instance, the wife of a certain drug lord, Mr. Alan C. The wife is Jed Pilapil C., who has been incarcerated since 2006 or 2007, has been languishing in jail, and there was some semblance of reasonable doubt, no, in the in her involvement with her alleged with her husband's alleged involvement in the drug laboratory in Davao. So things like this perhaps is the way for the committee to be able to help. No? And I'm sure if we do write our committee report, we will specify and stipulate in this report the findings which we feel would be helpful for the courts to determine the status of cases against persons who were charged, no? Falsely or charged erroneously.
Well, Congressman, how do you ensure the safety of those who will testify in the hearings? I do remember last year was Police Colonel Regina Garma dropped a bombshell by saying that there's an actual system employed by the former president as to the rewards in the war on drugs. And we all know what happened to that. Lumabas si Colonel Grijaldo, imbis na i-corroborate po niya yung sinabi ni Regina Garma, sinabi niya na pinuntahan siya ni Congressman Dan Fernandez at Benny Abante para papirmahin at para pag-agrihan na ganito. I mean, Attorney Cristina Conti pointed out that it will be difficult to have these investigations because it is the police themselves who are involved in the gathering of evidence and also in the trial itself. So how do you imagine that to go? How do you ensure the safety of those who will come forward?
Yeah, okay. First, yung safety, no? The safety is a big challenge for the committee. Of course, we can make representations in behalf of the families of the victims or those who want or who would appear as witnesses before the Quad Committee. We can make representations to the Philippine National Police to secure them. But we're only limited to that. No? Simply because the ones being charged or the ones that are involved in these extrajudicial killings are members of the Philippine National Police. So it's a really big challenge. Malaking challenge talaga yan, no? For the police and for the committee and even for DOJ. No? Malaking challenge yan. It's not very easy to secure these people because una-una, may kahirapan, no, na i-secure sila because marami sa kanila matindi ang takot, no, and yung kanilang takot na yan ang siyang pumipigil sa kanila na humarap, no, sa korte o kahit sa anumang investigative body na maaring makatulong sa kanila. But these are crimes of murder, no, extrajudicial killings ito and if there are no let's say witnesses, no, siguro yung mga circumstantial evidence, the police naman can file kung wala, kahit yung families ay hindi complainant dun sa mga kasong yan, the police can initiate the filing of charges against the suspects that they discovered. So merong yan, again, it's another challenge that the justice system can and must overcome.
Yun nga din kasi nabanggit nga ni NBI NCR Director Lavin in the hearing na one of the issues din kung bakit hindi natuloy yung mga ibang investigasyon is because natakot din yung mga family members, not just the police officers but on the other side yung victims' families. Bukod pa dun sa takot, no, I can imagine kung na money is also an issue. Medyo mahal po kasi kung ipupursue mo ang isang kaso. So is there any way around that beyond, of course, overwork na yung PAW and all of that, as we know?
Oh, well, the only solution to that, as far as the law, that the requirement of a lawyer will be at play, will be the victims or the families of the victims will seek the assistance of our POW lawyers. Marami naman po tayong mga magagaling na mga POW lawyers dyan, no? And who will not and does not demand compensation for the pro bono services that they will do for the families of the victims, no? Especially if it's a very sensational case. That's the kaya nga kaya talagang all these things kung pag dudugtungin natin talagang napakahirap. It's a big puzzle that every piece must be solved, must be complete. Yun ang mahirap. That's the biggest challenge there. As far as the Quadcom is concerned, whatever we gather in our investigation, circumstantial evidence, documentary evidence, testimonial evidence, we will all forward this to the courts or to the appropriate agency, the DOJ. And sila na magpa-perfect niyan because we're not experts in investigation. What we can only do is maybe assist, no? In a way that it may lead to the solution of a crime and eventually the delivery of justice to the victims.
Yeah. On another related topic, Congressman, since we have you, you were quoted in some news articles as saying that you want to go after vloggers lining the Quad Committee, going so far as to set up a separate committee to investigate them. And you're saying that these vloggers are funded by POGO operations. I mean, flesh that out for us.
I'm glad you asked me that question because number one, I'm not going to run after them. No? It's just that there was in the country today, in the advent of social media and all this technology coming out, where people have suddenly become pseudo journalists and political analysts, no? Yung mga vloggers na yan. No? What we want to happen is that there should be a regulatory framework that maybe would guide, no, the use of social media by anyone, no? Just like you guys in journalism. You cannot just say come out with an article or with a news without validating or without verifying, di ba? So number three, even if you have already verified a story, what you do is you get the other side of the story. Diba? Yung dalawang panig, pinakikinggan nyo before you even come out with your story. That's the protocol, diba? In social media now, I don't think that is happening. No? A lot of people are peddling fake news. No? They accuse people. They talk of nasty things. No? And there are even bloggers who are actually calling for the withdrawal of support from the president. No, some bloggers are also calling for coup d'etat. Some bloggers are also calling for are accusing people in government of corruption. But if you ask them what are the evidences or what are their bases, they cannot even tell us.
Right.
So all these things must be regulated because this is scary. No, if people like them who are so-called influencers would have a follower of about 1 million, and whatever they say, 1 million of the things that they will say, 1 million people will believe. No, okay lang sana if this is public information campaign. No, halimbawa, you want to talk about the benefits that a member of PhilHealth will get, perhaps you can use social media. That's why my challenge to them when I delivered a privileged speech in Congress, I said, use your social media platforms or your social media pages, no, to condemn also the Chinese aggression in the West Philippine Sea. But no one. I've been monitoring the social media. Wala pa akong naririnig na kumukontra doon sa mga pambubuli ng China.
Right. Congressman,
all these bloggers just came about in the thick of the popularity of pogos.
Right.
And some of them are even funded by perhaps drug syndicates. That's why I call them the narco bloggers and the pogo bloggers, because they peddle fake news. Yung fake news lang, there are maraming magagaling na bloggers.
Right.
Maraming matitino.
Yeah.
Kailangan lang, there must be a semblance of discipline among them.
Right.
No, they
Congressman,
cannot just curse anyone. When
Yeah.
you open your TikTok account, you'll see someone cursing somebody.
right.
No?
Congressman, we agree. First of all, thank you for acknowledging our work. We do our best every day. But as a follow-up question, who do you have in mind? When you keep talking about bloggers, sino po ba yung fina-follow nyo? And like, when you talk about the ones who are peddling misinformation, who have you seen doing that?
You know, now I get the idea when my children are telling me that, Dad, you should follow this blogger. I don't know what follow means. But now I realize that you have, in order for you to be able to see whatever post they make in their social media accounts, you have to follow them. So that's what I did. No, I follow practically all bloggers, everyone who speaks on social media, on TikTok, and on those who post messages and content in the Facebook. I watch them. And minsan nakakalungkot kasi ang nangyayari, hindi na news ang lumalabas Hindi na katotohanan. You know, when the advent of social media, when blogging became the norm for people who perhaps doesn't have a job, no? I'm just referring to I'm referring to the narco vloggers and the pogo vloggers. Sino ba yung magkakaroon ng interest mag-post ng mga defamatory statements, or if not slanderous and libelous statements against anyone, if they're not getting any compensation at all? Kung masipag ito araw-araw mag-post ng an issue against someone, teka muna, di ba? Medyo hindi ako maniniwalaan, gusto mo lang yan. Perhaps you're getting paid. And who's going to pay these vloggers who consistently and constantly hit on someone? Di siyempre yung kalaban ng someone. And who could that be? In our case, maybe they're hitting on Quadcom members and Quadcom chairs because we're hitting on drug syndicates and pogo syndicates.
Okay. To be fair, kung yung mga vlogger...
But I mean, also, I understand the urge to regulate social media, but that's what Mark Zuckerberg will call free speech, right? Now that he's taken off the fact-checking guardrails from social media.
But I do understand it, because it seems that there are really those trolls or troll farms that operate with a system in mind. So I actually call them para silang mga langgam, na pag may mainit na ito-troll, doon sila. Tapos pag may susunod na mainit, lilipat sila lahat, biglang mawawala yung activity or yung pambabash doon sa isang account.
Pero to be fair din,
paano nyo isisiwalat yun?
Yun
I mean,
nga,
that's the
mahirap
challenge,
kasi.
because we're with you on that. I mean, it's not just you who gets
It's a big
all
problem
these
for
troll
everybody.
farms.
That means,
Okay.
Also us when we do our job.
does that mean you're gonna start? Does that mean curtailing the social media platforms?
That's a good question. The objective of this hearing is, of course, in aid of legislation, correct? And what we want to achieve is that for the social media or the users of digital space to have some semblance of discipline. No, you cannot just come out there anytime at any hour of the day to hit on someone, di ba? Or maybe peddle some fake news. So dapat merong parang ang journalist, ang media personalities, you're under the watchful eye of the KBP, because once you peddle fake news, you will be sanctioned.
Yes.
Dapat meron din ganun sa social media. That's one. Number two, let us minimize the peddling, or if not eradicate the peddling of fake news. And there must be accountability. Because alam naman natin kung anong epekto nung ano ba yung nagiging epekto ng fake news? Cyberbullying. And sometimes it causes mental stress to people that even lead to suicide. No? There are also cases na yung hindi ma-handle yung mental stress, what do they do? Di ba? They resort to
Congressman,
uh, maybe violence.
right. Congressman, I'm so sorry. This is a hugely interesting topic, and we will debate this with you another day. It's just that we've run out of time tonight, but we're going to have to leave that there for now. We will pick this up again another time.
Okay, I'm glad that you guys are interested in that topic. A lot of people are really
Thank you so much for your
It's the
time.
second time we've talked about it on this show.
Quad Committee Co-Chair, Congressman Ace Barbers. Thank you so much for your time.
Up next, the Immigration Bureau releases more information about the Chinese national arrested for allegedly spying on Philippine military installations. More on that story when we return. Welcome back. You're still watching The Big Story here on One News.
New U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has hit the ground running, already meeting with Quad officials on his first day on the job. The Quad is a grouping of 4 countries, the U.S., Japan, India, and Australia, that's largely seen as an initiative to counter China's aggression in the region. The foreign ministers of the 3 other countries were in Washington, D.C. for a scheduled summit. Analysts say the meeting is designed to signal that countering Beijing was a top priority for the new administration. And indeed, in a joint statement the 4 countries issued afterwards, they said in part, "We reaffirm our shared commitment to strengthening a free and open Indo-Pacific where the rule of law, democratic values, sovereignty, and territorial integrity are upheld and defended. We also strongly oppose any unilateral actions that seek to change the status quo by force or coercion." The phrase "a free and open Indo-Pacific" is said to be coined by the first Trump administration under former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo.
While talking about territorial integrity, a new Chinese ship has been spotted in the waters off the Zambales coast. The Philippine Coast Guard identified the ship as CCG-3103. It apparently replaced CCG-3304, which has been patrolling the area. In turn, the Philippine Coast Guard has also pulled out the BRP Gabriela Silang and replaced it with BRP Suluan, one of its multi-role and response vessels. Once on station, the BRP Suluan issued radio challenges to the new Chinese ship.
You do not possess any legal authority to patrol inside the Philippine Exclusive Economic Zone. You are directed to depart immediately and notify us your intention.
CCG-3103 was last spotted just 76 nautical miles from Pundakit, Zambales, well within the Philippines' 200 nautical mile exclusive economic zone. According to the fisher folk in Zambales, the Chinese presence has effectively reduced their fishing area to just 50 miles off the coast.
Sa ngayon ay pagka napalapit tayo doon sa Baho de Masinloc, posibleng babanggain sila ito or di kaya ay palubugin sila doon.
Now, authorities have more information on the supposed Chinese spy who was caught in Makati just a few days ago. Bureau of Immigration records reveal that the 39-year-old Chinese national called Teng Yuanqing has traveled in and out of the Philippines since 2015 and is married to a Filipina. Teng was arrested with 2 others, both Filipino. Immigration Commissioner Joel Viado said they have shared the information with the DOJ and the NBI to support ongoing investigations. The BI chief said they will be initiating deportation proceedings against the suspect to add to the other cases that will be filed against him. But Viado clarified that the Chinese national will remain in the Philippines until all accountabilities and penalties have been resolved and served.
And as such, military officials are now looking at possible links this recent development might have with 2 other recent incidents. One, the discovery of drones in Masbate, and 2 foreign nationals being found with falsified Philippine documents. They suspect that foreign agents are working to create a blueprint of key locations in the Philippines, and the armed forces believes the suspects may have already conducted surveillance on military bases, particularly sites for the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, or EDCA. The AFP says it's possible a foreign power is behind what it thinks is a wide-scale espionage activity. Lots to talk about here, so without further ado, let's bring in AFP spokesperson Colonel Francel Padilla. Colonel Padilla, thanks for joining us on the line tonight. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, ladies, and good evening to all of your viewers.
Let's take off from that last item I just read, which has to do with foreign mapping, meaning that you suspect that foreign agents may have already conducted surveillance on some military bases, including sites that are EDCA sites, and also that they're potentially working to create a blueprint of the Philippines. Is any of this confirmed, and what else do we know about this?
Yes, on 17 January, through our extensive planning and counterintelligence operations with NBI, we were able to apprehend in Makati City, utilizing a RAV4 vehicle, Mr. Deng Yuanxing, a 40-year-old Chinese national. He has in his vehicle ISR equipment on board, which is actually designed for high-precision topographic mapping and 3D modeling. So beginning in December 2024, Deng actually directed trips for over a month in the Luzon mainland. And he was being able to utilize this equipment to map and survey critical infrastructure. So we have seen that he has went into strategic areas, to include military installations, PMP installations as well, ports, malls, communications grid, energy grid, and also major seaports and airports covering major routes from the northernmost part of Luzon to Bicol.
Okay, Colonel Francel, I know you specialize in cybersecurity, and this must be really alarming. So there's one of these guys. Have you been able to talk to Mr. Teng about, how long he's been here? He's even married to a Filipina. Does he speak Filipino? Can you give us some background on what his cover story is? Like, what is he here supposedly as?
Well, Deng actually achieved this through a network of financiers. First, he has technical experts, he has Chinese nationals as well, and he has support personnel. So notably, Deng has been in the Philippines for over 10 years. He is married to a Filipina, and he has been able to establish businesses here in the country. The same businesses are actually being used as fronts to receive large amounts of funds to enable this illicit activity.
Has he been able to get a Filipino citizenship, given that he is married to a Filipina? And speaking of that finance network, who's part of that?
So for that, we are waiting for the results of the investigation to determine all of the different intricacies of how he was in the past 10 years. So the AFP is closely working with the NBI and other experts on this to conduct further investigation into these operations and ensure the territorial integrity and the national security of the country.
Colonel, I want to talk about the gadgets that we saw in the car of Deng. Ito po ay binabatikos ng ilan dahil sinasabi po nila na ito ba ang gamit ng isang Chinese spy? Parang binili lang po sa online. I mean, paano po kaya nagawa na namapa po nila? Nabanggit nyo po, these are high-precision topographic 3D mappers. How was he able to do that? Can he do that from a distance? And sigurado po ba kayo na talagang nagamit niya yung mga mga equipment na po, nakikita po natin yan, kasi parang pwede ring para sa ibang pakay?
This is the report of our intelligence gathering. It is, it took time for us to work on this. And ang gusto nating i-point out dito, ma'am, we do not undermine this situation. So for us, being in the security sector, it pays to be paranoid, to really be able to be, very, very particular on details. So ito, kung ano man yung equipment niya, these are improvised equipment and how he has been using it, makikita natin yan sa result ng investigation ng NBI. But looking at the places na inikot niya, to include critical infrastructures, military camps, PNP camps, even the malls that are frequented by Filipino people, we do not undermine the capabilities and kung ano yung intent behind this. So it pays for us to be mas maging mapanuri tayo, no? Kesa i-dismiss natin to as something that is really very it's such a small issue.
But do we have in our hands the data that he got? Gaano kadami ang namapa niya, and are there photos, files that we were able to obtain?
Yes, it is extensively mapping, no, this area. So kung 3D topographic mapping, you do not need to enter the certain facility to be able to conduct this mapping activity. So from pag inikutan mo lang yung certain vicinity, mapuproduce niya itong topographical map niya in a 3D form. So with this, ilalabas din po ito ng NBI, no? They have an extensive list of all of the places that have been mapped by this gadget that was found in his vehicle.
But again, to be clear, have we been able to extract all of the data from these devices, and what else was seen inside?
Yes, ongoing pa po yung investigation natin and forensics natin sa lahat ng equipment. Iniisa-isa po natin ito, no? And as I said, as soon as we have the conclusion of this investigation, ilalabas po ito ng NBI accordingly, ma'am.
Okay, Colonel, I was just wondering, no, before siya nahuli, like nabanggit nyo nga that he's been watched or monitored for a couple of months. I was just wondering, like, was this off of a tip? Like, how did we get an idea that this guy could be a spy? Because, you know, I mean, offhand, no, meron siyang mga negosyo, asawa niya Pinay, 10 years na siya nandito. Like, paano nyo natunugan na may something fishy going on here?
That is all part of our intelligence gathering, ma'am, no? And we do not divulge our operational details, of course. But ito po is a result of our intelligence operatives that are doing their mandate accordingly. And it shows po, no, that our systems are in place, although we are working silently in the background. And ito po, showing na meron po tayong nahuli na ganito. So just goes to show that our intelligence gathering is effective and operational po.
Another question, Colonel, is because itong mga LiDAR na ginamit niya, tulad ng sabi ni Gretchen, no, a lot of these things, they're just easily available. You can buy them online, even from abroad, and easily obtain them. Even iPhones have LiDAR. And then, other than that, we also have Google Maps where, you know, we can basically take a look at kind of the inside. Like, I now know all my neighbors that have swimming pools when I just use Earth View. Di ba? Parang medyo ganun kasi. It's a topographical representation of what is on the ground. So, exactly how dangerous, you know, were these like data that he was able to obtain? Another thing is I remember talking to you about the EDCA sites, and medyo hush-hush talaga yung itsura, what's inside, how to describe it. I remember you also declined to explain because of security issues. So I was just wondering if like may plano pa na takpan or lagyan ng some sort of cover tong mga sensitive infrastructure natin para hindi makunan.
Yun, ma'am, kasama lahat yan, no? Kasi ito nga pong equipment niya, hindi niya na kailangan pumasok. Ito po, kaya din nitong i-determine certain features that cannot be seen via Google Earth or Google Maps, no? So, may-augment niya itong other applications and solutions out there. So, what is the reason behind, no? And kung saan man ito gagamitin, ito po lahat ang ina-identify natin with our forensics. Yung pag-forensics natin dito, ma'am, we do the forensics as a system, no? We do the forensics on the hardware, we do the forensics on the software, and of course, the data that is being gathered and kung saan man ito and ano po ang purpose nito and saan man ito ipapadala. So, this is really very tedious. Dito nga po, ilalabas nga po ng NBI as soon as makumpleto po nila ito. But in our case po, moving forward, kasama po ito, no, sa ating mga modernization efforts. As I said, yung modernization po ng Armed Forces of the Philippines will be heavily more on maritime assets, aerial assets, and cybersecurity. Kasama po dyan, no, pati yung ating electronic warfare capability.
Deng could be one of many spies in the Philippines. Are you monitoring others? Gaano karami po kaya? And what should we do to protect ourselves, knowing that meron pong ganito?
siyempre ma'am, with this po, no, hindi po natin isinasantadi that there may be others out there. Meron na din po tayong former na case ng ganito last year, no? And also, ang tinitingnan natin, ma'am, is taking a step back, looking at the bigger picture and connecting the dots. Lahat po ito, no, lahat ng iba't ibang anggulo at iba't ibang facets to this, we are looking into it. No? So yung ating political sector, especially po, napadating po ang ating eleksyon, tinitingnan po natin yan, our educational system, ang ating pakikipag-ugnayan po, no, sa different agencies on this, to include yung ating Bureau of Immigration. So lahat po yan, no, sama-sama po at tulong-tulong po kami para makita po itong bigger picture dito and how everything pieces together, no, to form part of a grand plan.
Okay. Well, we'll look forward to getting more details when they are ready. For now, thanks so much for your time. We'll leave that there. That was AFP spokesperson Colonel Francel Pilia.
After the break, swift response to Donald Trump's sweeping executive orders. At least 24 states and cities are moving to sue the new president over his policy on birthright citizenship. The details next. Keep it here.
After a 10-year hiatus from the Asian Tour, the Philippine Open makes a spectacular return this week as the season's opening event featuring a remarkable field of competitors and celebrating a new title sponsor, Smart Infinity.
I believe the most prestigious golf tournament in the Philippines, Philippine Open. It's the 102nd Philippine Open, and we've been away for 4 or 5 years, I think. No, so now I think I'm happy it's back. Now that golf has also picked up as a sport in this country, especially after the pandemic. Having the Philippine Open here and having the Filipino fans watch the best players in Asia play and really just try to attack a very challenging course in this nature, Manila South was very, very challenging. I hope the wind picks up a bit para mas mahirap ng konti. But they've shortened, they made it a par 70. So they made 2 par 5s into par 4s, so added a bit more difficulty.
This year marks the 5th time Manila Southwoods has hosted the National Open, with previous events held there in 1993, 1994, 1996, and 1999.
A bit different, you know. The last Asian Tour event we had was 2017 or 18 here, but it's very special for not only for me but all the other Filipino golfers to have an Asian Tour event here. And the Philippine Open is very, very special to my heart. You know, it was the first Asian Tour event I won 10 years ago, 2015. I've won it twice. I was very lucky to win it twice, but hopefully I can win it for a 3rd time this week.
As mentioned, the Asian Tour Philippine Open kicks off with a Pro-Am full scramble. This refers to a type of event where professional golfers team up with amateur golfers in a relaxed and fun competition.
Nice quad.
We had the chance to speak to some of the participants and winners of the said event.
I really enjoyed it. This is my first time to join a Pro-Am, and I'm thankful for the NGAP for inviting me. I came in here with the idea of, since it was a scramble and best ball, so I was hoping that maybe 5 or 6 of my drives that will be chosen, so which I achieved. But it was nice to seeing all these pros and how they play, and so it was a learning experience for me.
The winner of the Pro-Am tournament, may we call on the NGAP board, led by our professional player, Mr. Chase Kepka.
Really just kind of getting the feels back, and I'm just excited to be back out here and playing. And I really like the course this week, so just got to make some putts out there, and hopefully we get to celebrate some more on Sunday.
Maraming salamat sa inyo for your support, the golfing fans of the Philippines. Please join us here in Manila Southwoods starting tomorrow, January 23 to 26, for the 102nd Philippine Open. See you here.
All right, and you're back on the big story here on One News.
Concerns are growing amongst international bodies over the U.S.'s plans to withdraw from the World Health Organization. International Aid Society President Beatrice Greenstein expressed alarm, noting that the WHO plays a critical role in guiding global HIV prevention and treatment. She warned that reduced U.S. funding could weaken global health efforts and hopes that the U.S. re-engages with the WHO. The WHO has released a statement expressing regret over the U.S. decision to withdraw. It says as a founding member in 1948, the U.S. has played a key role in shaping WHO's work alongside other member states. It goes on to say, through its active role for over 7 decades, WHO and the U.S. have saved countless lives and protected Americans and people across the globe from health threats. The World Health Organization hopes that the U.S. will reconsider and engage in constructive dialogue for the health and wellness of people around the globe.
At least 24 states and cities are suing U.S. President Donald Trump over his executive action on birthright citizenship. California and Washington are leading the coalition of American states seeking to block Trump's move to end the decades-old immigration policy. Birthright citizenship basically guarantees that U.S.-born children are citizens regardless of their parents' legal status. This has been enshrined in the 14th Amendment of the American Constitution, but Trump and company have disputed the reading of the amendment and said there needs to be tougher standards on becoming a citizen. Trump's roughly 700-word executive order issued late Monday amounts to a fulfillment of something he's talked about during the presidential campaign. But whether it succeeds is far from certain in what is likely to be a lengthy legal battle over his immigration policies.
Now, after all those stories that leave a bad taste in the mouth for some, let's have a much more pleasant treat to end the show with. For our big picture tonight, we have the new fresh milk line from Carmen's Best. The Filipino dairy company launched its latest product today. Metro Pacific AgriVentures aims to help the Philippines achieve self-sufficiency and food security by boosting the local sourcing of the country's dairy requirements. To do this, Metro Pacific Dairy Farms will be opening a state-of-the-art facility towards the end of this year. Carmen's Best will be distributing its new milk line nationwide.
Because today, 99% of the dairy consumption of the country is imported. We're only 1%, but definitely we will make fresh milk more available locally.
Internally, we really hold to the belief that the Filipino deserves nothing less than fresh. They truly deserve 100% fresh, 100% local fresh milk. And in order to do that, we are providing the consumer with different variants, different flavors.
Guys know that we can only supply ourselves with less than 1% of our dairy requirements.
That's right. That's the statistics that MAPV...
Less than how many percent?
Less than 1%.
Wow.
Is produced locally, and then the rest
Parang
of it is
0.2.
imported, mostly from countries like Australia and New Zealand.
I think the milk is coming from Bukidnon. Bukidnon Farms, right?
So, well, actually, there has been, syempre ginawan ko to ng story sa Go Local, which probably is still airing. But we do have to import cows that can survive here and still bear milk. So medyo mahirap kasi mainit dito eh. So what they do is they crossbreed cows. Parang last I saw, there was a parang half Indian and half that black and white spotted milk cow, the typical one.
It's actually quite complicated. I don't think a lot of people realize this. They think, okay, we're an agri country. We've got lots and lots of land. Why can't we produce our own milk? And that's, I think, also a question that was on MVP's mind, which is why they decided to venture into this business, right? Like that question of we got so much land, and why can't we produce our own milk?
It's also
a
very
huge challenge,
technical,
though.
and you have to invest like a lot of money to buy the equipment just to like pasteurize the milk, to skim off the fat.
And then the grass as well that the cows eat, the feed, right?
And did
all
you
of
know
these questions.
that they have music on while they're being milked?
Well, in Japan
Yes.
they put the music on to calm the cow,
the mommy cow. Yeah, it's really a thing.
It's
So
the
they
same
also do it
reason
here.
why Wagyu cows are really expensive, right? Because they're treated so well, right? So same for premium milk. So again,
before they're turned into meat.
in the next life, I think I'm gonna come back as a Wagyu
Well,
cow.
I have just one comment here. It's not supposed to be a big picture. It's supposed to be big feature. I want the ice cream on this table.
The big taste test.
Right? So we can talk about it properly.
The ice cream.
So for
Right?
for,
Do you guys
for Metro
agree?
Pacific, you know, you can donate here to this table.
Ice cream.
There's
for
a
our
lot of
big
space.
feature for tonight.
In dry ice packaging. So it'll last the whole newscast.
They won't send us ice cream, they'll just send us the milk.
In 3 packages.
Or maybe 5, because there's 2 people waiting over there. We have to...
On that demand.
On that demand, very bratty demand. That's it for the big story tonight.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
Thanks for tuning in. Have a good night.